Welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Shively, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and I'm on a 1 million pound mission. Now, I've personally lost over 100 pounds, and I've applied what I've learned from my own transformation journey to help my hometown clients lose over 35,000 pounds in just 5 years. Now I'm on a mission to produce over 1 million pounds of results by delivering my best weekly tips, motivation, inspirational stories, and transformation strategies so that you can gain clarity about what you need to do to reach your goals and give you the confidence to take action. And the perfect time to start taking action is right now. So let's do this. Hey everybody, before we dive into this episode, I want to welcome on a brand new sponsorship partner, Ultra Human. Now, as always, I was a client of these guys first. I chased them down. I said, I love your stuff. I'd love to get you involved as a sponsor. So they agreed, and here we are. Now, these products are amazing. They have 3 products, and they are the best of the best. One is a nootropic called Tao, T-A-O. Some pronounce it Dow, but I'm from Indiana, so I pronounce it Tao. You're just lucky I don't pronounce it Teo. And it's an amazing nootropic. I've been trying it either late morning or even midday as a little cognitive boost, and you feel the difference. You don't feel jittery, but you feel very focused and dialed in. I love it. They also have a Keto Plus MCT product. Completely changed my opinion about exogenous ketones. You guys have to check this out if you want to avoid keto flu and have a little bit better workouts while you're on the ketogenic diet. And they have a product called Amino Code. It's the best. It is the absolute best amino acid product I have ever used. It is amazing. My recovery is off the charts, and I love this stuff. So hopefully you can tell that I am all in on Ultra Human. I want you to check them out at theultrahuman.net. That's theultrahuman.net. Hit up the promo code MPM20. Get 20% off as a Million Pound Mission podcast listener. Now, after this episode, I want you to listen in as I'm going to give you the details on my brand new Million Pound Mission Bootcamp and how you can get involved. If you can't wait that long, just go to millionpoundmission.com. Make sure you get on the wait list so you get first dibs on those roster spots for the Million Pound Mission Bootcamp launching in July. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Million Pound Mission Podcast. It's your buddy Adam, the PhD, the previously heavy dude. And this is episode number 147, Betterhumanology with Jerred Moon. Now, you all know how much I love to come up with my own, creative names for my programs and processes. So when I heard the phrase Betterhumanology, I was like, what is this all about? And I had to dive in, dig a little deeper, and find out more. So this week I'm chatting with the man who coined the term Betterhumanology, Jerred Moon. Now, Jerred is the founder and CEO of End of 3 Fitness and former physical training leader and unit fitness program manager in the Air Force Special Operations Command. My goodness. Now, Jerred and I had a really in-depth conversation. He brings a lot of energy, and we talked about things like what exactly is Betterhumanology. We talked about why it's so important to get outside of our comfort zone and challenge ourselves. We talked about the personal challenge that he saw the most benefit from. That was my favorite part. And we talked about the best way that we can kick off a personal challenge that will inspire us to get healthier or just make progress in general. Something that's going to fire us up, right? That's what we all need. So let's dig on in without any further delay. I want you to check out episode number 147, Betterhumanology with Jerred Moon. All right, Jerred, welcome to the Million Pound Mission. How are we doing today, my friend?
Good, man. I'm excited to be here. Really psyched up about your mission and what you're doing, and glad I could kind of be a part of it now.
Yeah, well, I am really psyched about your energy that you're going to bring to the show, your specific knowledge and your experience. I was really pumped we got connected by our mutual friend, Fat Dag, Mike. And when I found your info, I was like, man, this guy has got to come on the show. He's perfect. So I'm psyched to introduce you to my audience, and I'll let you do that. Just give us kind of the Cliff's Notes version of how you got to where you are today as a fitness influencer.
Yeah, so it's kind of been a long road, but I'll truncate it as much as possible. I've been into fitness my whole life. Started very early on with personal training and working in gyms, and then I decided I could kind of do that at any point in my life, and decided I really wanted to go for being a fighter pilot. So I I went through Texas Tech University and got a pilot slot, going through ROTC there. Ended up in pilot training, which was awesome, great opportunity, but ended up getting injured in that process and was no longer able to fly anymore after that injury. And so I immediately clicked back to my passion of fitness, which had already been a big part of my life for probably a decade before that. And so I started a website, didn't really know what I was going to do with it. I just had this huge amount of passion for health and fitness, and it was going to go somewhere. So it started to go towards my blog, and what I ended up really focusing on, just because of what I was doing, was garage gym stuff, building garage gym projects and all of these different things to help myself and others. And that's what we were doing on the blog. And then it just I got more serious about it the last 2 years of my military service and decided I really wanted to turn it into a business. And that's what I did when I got out of the military in 2014, beginning of 2015, and been running Into 3 Fitness full time ever since, just helping people get better. Because that's one thing that we like to focus on. I really feel like the fitness side is a big part of what I do, is programming as a strength and conditioning coach. But you can only go so far with getting people to do the sets and reps, and that's where the better human part of a lot, like our mission is to help build better humans, is to really get into people's psyche to make sure they're actually completing the workouts that we write for them, and that they're motivated from like an intrinsic standpoint and all of these things. And that's where we're kind of trying to really focus on that full whole person concept, and that's what we're doing up to today.
Nice. And I want to get into the Betterhumanology in a second here, but one thing you brought up that I think is interesting is that like you had this life path going for you with the Air Force, and that got taken away. And that's something that a lot of people really struggle with. They kind of have a dream, they're psyched about it, and then that just changes for one reason or another, and they kind of go into a downward spiral. So what kept you from doing that?
I just never really allowed myself to dwell on it. There may have been like a day or two where I was bummed out, but there's no real point in focusing on failure. I mean, I didn't necessarily look at it as a personal failure because I was like physically incapable of continuing, but I was like, you know what, this is no longer going to happen. I'm going to pour all of my energy now into something else. So really, I just didn't focus on it. I focused on how to move forward, and continued forward progress is what kept me going, kept me motivated.
Yeah, that's a theme that we talk about a lot on the show, is just being able to focus on controlling what you can actually control. So many people get beat up, whether it's physical fitness or with their career or just relationships in general. They worry too much about what's out of their control, and we could just spend all that time and energy and focus on what we can actually control and make a huge difference. And you're a great example of that. And with Into 3 Fitness, we already mentioned briefly, the term is Betterhumanology, and I love making up terms. My audience knows that I make up words and phrases and labels all the time. So tell us a little bit more about what you mean by Betterhumanology.
Yeah, so Betterhumanology is what we kind of deem as our practice, our study of getting better, becoming a better human. And it really it was kind of a long journey, and if you don't mind me telling kind of the full story, I launched my very first strength and conditioning program while I was still active duty. We launched on my site, and it did pretty well. At that time we had 100 new people sign up, and I was really excited. I was like, okay, cool. This is my first thing, 100 new people. That means I'm going to get 100 new testimonials. Everybody's going to see results. This is going to be amazing. And then what I found out was people having trouble sticking to the program. People, there's a lot of human struggles, right? The things that we run into in a daily life. And then that really started to open this new opportunity to help my audience, and that was really diving into, performance psychology and behavioral psychology to help people get better. So, it stems from every part of, like I said, diving into finding out your why and finding intrinsic motivators, challenging yourself on a daily basis to build that mental toughness to help you get through the more challenging parts of life, discipline, self-development, reading books to continually get better. And so that's kind of what we deemed the other side, because to be honest, as a fitness, like a strength and conditioning coach, the writing great workouts is easy for me at this point. I'm always trying to get better at it, but it's pretty easy for me to give someone an effective program. But if I can't get you to stick to it, the program's useless. And so Betterhumanology is that other side of really helping people improve and get better and, really challenge themselves to continually do so.
Yeah, I've got a similar train of thinking, but I call it strategic thinking. And I kind of get people to, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'm like, okay, you run your own business and you understand what could put you out of business. Why don't you operate and think in that same line with your body? Like, what could put you out of your health business, and not live your healthy life and not have the quality of life that you want to have anymore. So yeah, I'm right in line with that. And one of the things you mentioned was challenging yourself. And I see that underlying theme with a lot of your shows, your blogs, is getting outside of your comfort zone, kind of just sharpening that saw a little bit and improving. So what is the importance of doing that, of just taking on these mental and physical challenges? How are you seeing that help people?
You have to get outside of your comfort zone, and that's almost like a cliche statement now. I hate to kind of just say that, but you got to do something you don't enjoy at least once per day. And it really has to be something you don't enjoy. Like, it could be a cold shower. It could be reading a book. I mean, in Angela Duckworth's book, Grit, which is one of my favorite books, she talks about the hard things rule. Now, this is something that we've implemented with our athletes. I've implemented at home. I have 3 kids. I'm married. This is something that I always have. And the hard thing rule is you have to do something that requires daily practice to become better. And it can't be something that you're already doing. Like, for me, my hard thing is not fitness, because I've been working out regularly now for almost 20 years. So I can't really just say, oh yeah, that's my hard thing, because I'm going to work out no matter what. But other things that challenge me, that get me out of my comfort zone, that take, daily practice to get better, doing those hard things is what really makes you a better human. It pushes you to be better. Because if you don't learn how to, take that stack of paper at the DMV and fill them out without getting frustrated, just small things that you don't want to do, you're not going to be able to push yourself to build a business, to build a better body, to do anything that's really outside of just your normal life. And if you want to live an extraordinary life, you're going to have to learn how to do hard things.
Yeah, that's something that I believe in as well. And I'm interested, like, what are some of the hard things for you, just like recently? What are the hard daily things that you're dealing with right now?
So, I mean, mine are more habitual, like things like journaling for me. Like I said, I'm good with fitness, cold showers. A lot of these things, like, they were harder for me at one point. But this is a conversation I have with, Dawn Fletcher quite often. She's a mental performance coach, and she's really cool. But we talk about, we both have similar mindsets, and we like push ourselves. But there's a point where pushing yourself is no longer outside of your comfort zone. Like, I've taken probably over 1,000 cold showers now, so it's not really like, yeah, that this is something I have to do every single day. So for me now, it's more relationships based, like trying to really work on relationships with friends, because that's something I'm not as good at, because I can get so focused on a goal that I can put my friends to the side, which is bad. So that's kind of my hard thing right now. Journaling, to really get into my thoughts and find out what I'm thinking, why I'm thinking. That's really hard for me right now. It's something I'm working on. Those are my hard things that I'm trying to develop, but they've gone past just those physical challenges and fitness and everything else. But everyone needs to be pushing themselves in their own way. Yeah,
and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think a lot of people just assume that, like, well, Jerred's hard thing is obviously he does 1,000 push-ups every day, or it doesn't have to be just because we're fitness people. This, balancing things out and just balancing out that total life equation is super important. So whether like you said, I love the fact that you brought up, like, working on relationships, working on reconnecting with the friends and family members, things like that. That's a super important thing that I don't think a lot of people would automatically assume that people like you and I are dealing with. So I'm definitely in the same boat with that. What would you say is one of your more recent challenges or focus areas that you've been working on that's really made a huge impact for you with this whole hard thing principle?
I would say one thing that's been more difficult, or let's say over the course of a couple of years, because I think that's what really takes what really makes a difference. And I would say forcing myself to do a morning routine. I would say that has made the biggest impact in my life over the last couple of years, because it's a time for me to do everything, to get some reading done, to get some journaling done, to get some breathing done, cold shower. A lot of the things that sharpen the axe, you can knock out in the first, couple minutes of your day. So I would say that's had, from a day-to-day habitual standpoint, that's been one of the biggest thing that's helped me grow.
Okay. So let's get a little more specific. So how long does that take you? Like, what time frame are you usually doing this? And then what do the specifics look like?
Yeah. So, well, right now I will throw a caveat in there. Right now, my life is a little bit different because my third kid, my baby girl, she was just born about 4 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And so there's not a lot of morning routine. I'm trying to get it all done throughout the day. But right now, there's not a lot of morning routine. But for the past 3 years, it's been pretty consistent. So what I have really are kind of two different morning routines. One is my minimal effective dose. This is like, if I only have 5 or 10 minutes, this is what I'm going to get done. And that typically is just going to be some form of breathing, which could take, a couple minutes. And I'm talking about box breathing, which is where you do like 5 seconds in, 5 second hold, 5 second out, 5 second hold, and then you repeat that cycle over and over again. So some sort of breathing. Some people would, kind of lump that in with meditation. And then I do normally have some sort of reading after that. And then from there, it's like hop in the cold shower, do some push-ups to get the blood going. That takes honestly about, and when I say reading, it's normally audiobook at like 2x speed to get like as much as I can in that time frame. So that's only that's my 10-minute. If I have my full hour, I'm doing a lot more stuff. So I'll be doing, some meditation, journaling, reading, and just kind of some mobility work, really extending that out. And so all the things I feel like are sharpening the axe. Let's see, the book, what's it called? The Miracle Morning. Have you read that?
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you'd read it. It's one of my favorites, yeah.
Yeah, so he has the Savers principle, right? So the SAVERS, if I can remember them all, it's, I believe, silence, affirmation, visualization. I'm gonna lose them now. Save.
I know there's meditation, there's reading.
Yeah. I can't remember what they all the letters stand for now, but he has a great process if people are looking to kind of dive into this. And what I challenge people to do, if you're looking to do a morning routine, maybe start with something like the Miracle Morning, or listen to somebody on a podcast what theirs is, but ultimately find out what it is for you that's actually going to help you get better and make you feel like you're getting better. And I think that's the biggest part of a morning routine, is not the fact that you're checking things off a list. It's more that you are doing things that you believe internally are making you better, improving you for your life. Because if you sit around and affirmations you think are stupid and not going to help you, and you don't really believe in them, that's not how affirmations work. And so there's no reason for you to sit around and do them until you really internalize and believe that affirmations are helpful. So anything that you do find really helpful, if you think reading could be helpful, if you think stretching could be helpful, then do those things, and something that you really believe are going to make you better.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in affirmations. And just like what you said, when I teach people the process, you got to believe it. I tell people to write it down in present tense as if it's already happened. I went through a whole process when I lost my weight where I said, I mapped out my life for the next 5 years, what I wanted to achieve. And I read it out loud every morning and every night for 5 years in a row. And I accomplished every single thing, except I opened my fitness facility 8 days later than the goal date that I had set 5 years before. So I was 8 days late on that. But when I showed up to my 8,000 square foot facility with 100 people waiting on me at 6 a.m., I told the story, and more than half the room had the tears in their eyes, and they're all fired up about this. And so, but that's the power of not having half-assed affirmations. You need to have legit, feel it, breathe it, and then you go out and live it. And that's what makes the difference. So I'm 100% on board with you there, man.
Yeah, if you can fully believe those things and internalize them, that's when it gets powerful. Paying lip service, and it's just like fitness. There's only so far you can get in fitness if you're just doing what I call checklist fitness. Say you have a ton of weight to lose. Okay, maybe walking down the street and back for a while might help you lose some weight. But at a certain point, you're going to have to add some sort of intensity, right? You're going to have to kick things up a notch. And that'll continue on for your entire fitness journey if you want to continually see results. Now, if you get to a place that you're happy with and you want to stay there, that's fine. But that's the same with these kind of things like affirmations. You can't just say them and pay lip service to them. You really have to believe them, internalize them, and make them come true through your actions.
Yeah, action is what it's all about. Taking that, that mental visualization and putting it into real life. That's the key. So I want to make a slight pivot I want to make sure I pick your brain on the fitness side of things. And one of the questions I love to ask fitness experts like yourself is, we live in an age where the hack is the sexy thing. How do I hack my fitness? How do I do this special, unique thing? But what I want to know from people like you is, what are the foundational or fundamental things that you see always work? Like if we do these basic things, it like always works for almost everybody. What would those sorts of things be for you?
Aerobic training. My answers are probably gonna be kind of boring, but that's
what we need. We need the real deal. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people neglect. I don't care if you're a CrossFitter, weightlifter, powerlifter, general fitness practitioner. A lot of people, most everyone, neglect aerobic training, and the reason they do that is because there's some sort of stigma with not wanting to be a triathlete or a marathon runner. And that's the same kind of stigma of like a woman saying, I don't want to do bicep curls because my arm's going to be bulky. Like that's just not going to happen. You're not going to, do some aerobic work and then turn into this, anorexic looking marathon runner. It doesn't happen from doing some aerobic work, right? So the reason you want to be constantly doing aerobic work is because it builds your engine. So you're able to take on more fitness, more work capacity. But another thing is it makes your body extraordinarily efficient. So it's going to make your cardiovascular system, circulatory system, respiratory system all just work and operate better. So you're going to recover faster. You're going to be able to do harder, more challenging things, and you're going to live longer because that's just what the studies prove. And too many people don't do aerobic conditioning right. So you have to get in. Like you could look at heart rate training zones, whatever you want. But if you think about getting stronger, if you wanted to back squat, let's say 300 pounds, a big principle in strength training is time under tension. Like your body has to see that time under tension, right? You have to be at or close to 300 pounds, for that amount of time to be able to lift it. And you want to start getting closer and closer to it. But a lift is only a couple seconds long at most. And people miss that principle in aerobic training. They just go for a walk or run. And what they end up doing is they have these really high intensity spikes followed by these huge drops. So your heart rate's just doing this crazy thing where you're if I were to ask you to go run 3 miles, your first mile, say, is a 8-minute mile, your second one is a 9.5, and then your third is a 11-minute mile. That's not how you do aerobic training. What I'd rather see is you do 3 consecutive 10-minute miles. You're going to see so much more progress. So it's aerobic training, but doing it in a sustainable, repeatable way. Like I said, keeping consistent when you do your aerobic training is going to help you really improve overall.
So you're not necessarily talking about I think a lot of people will mix aerobic training with high intensity interval training. And you're talking about more sustained stuff instead of that.
Sustained 80% effort, up to 90% effort, something like that. And even really long, 60% effort, an hour long run or something like that. That's always going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. And what else? What about from the nutrition standpoint or from the strength training side of things? What are the fundamental things that you across the board, these principles will work?
Yeah. So for strength training, lifting heavy works. It helps you, burn a ton of calories. You can get into tempo lifting. It's going to help really have a metabolic response to where your strength training workouts are now becoming, cardiovascular. Now, for my athletes, we're into everything. We're doing metabolic conditioning, stabilization. We're just doing absolutely everything that you can think of. But if you're just talking about things that work, if you could just do heavy strength training, because it's going to elicit certain hormones, it's going to activate your central nervous system. It's just going to be really good for you to do strength training combined with aerobic training. That's all you would need for the rest of your life. You don't have to get into high intensity interval training if you don't want to. You don't have to get into training all the different energy pathways if you don't want to. Those 2 things alone will go a long way in keeping you really fit for a long time. Now, nutrition, what have I seen work? That's a loaded question, but what we have seen work with a lot of our athletes is a lower carbohydrate diet paired with intermittent fasting. Those kind of things we've seen personally in a lot of our athletes produce a ton of results. But really, from a principle standpoint, it's just going to be eating clean. So get away from the processed stuff. Get away from really all the junk. Stay away from sugar at all costs. Those really basic principles could fix a lot of people doing a lot of different things.
I think those are awesome. And one of the terms that you're using over and over and over again that I really like is that you're referring to your clients, the people that you work with, as athletes. And I want to clarify that because I know that some people listening may think, oh, he trains people that are professional sports. They do NFL and things like that. And you may very well do that, but I get the impression that you're working with a lot of what we would term average Joe people that are becoming human athletes. So why do you prefer to use that kind of terminology with your athletes?
Yeah, so that's a great distinction, and I'm glad that you picked up on it because a lot of people do get intimidated. So Bill Bowerman, co-founder of Nike, stated his famous quote, if you have a body, you're an athlete. And I'm a firm believer in this. And no, the people I train, for the most part now are not serious or competitive athletes. We do have some, but for the most part, we don't call them average, we call them other. So they refuse to be average. They always want to be better than what their, say, quote unquote, average life is providing them. And so we do call them athletes. And the main reason behind that is because athletes are serious. So athletes follow a real training program. Athletes are serious about nutrition. And if you were to go talk to a professional athlete, there would be no, I'm going to work out if I can fit it in today. I'm a little bit busy. Athletes train because they have to. It's a part of their life. It's a non-negotiable. And that's how I want people to start viewing themselves as athletes. Because once you start acting like an athlete, like my wife now, she's been with me for such a long time. There's no question of like, you can train today if you have time. It's just going to happen. It doesn't matter if it's going to happen at 9 p.m., 4 a.m. It's going to happen at some point in the day. She knows that. I know that because she's fully bought into my lifestyle and she supports that. If I was just trying to pick up fitness and is it cool if I work out? I know we got the baby and stuff no, we're athletes and I want to provide that same opportunity for her, to be completely kid free and tackle whatever she wants to do fitness wise. But when you're an athlete, you're serious and you get results.
I love it, man. I love your mindset around that. And I think it's perfect because so many people just let their lifestyle and all the busyness and the stuff and the mindset of just keep stacking more and more and more on. I get the emails all the time. I'm sure you've heard things like this before too from clients. And it's just like, well, I've got this thing and something's got to go. I'm not gonna be able to work out for a while, and it's just like, really, like we're giving up our health and our fitness. Like, I think a lot of times people lose the sight of they're shooting for perfect. And when things can't be perfect, it's like the light switch going on and off. I call it transformation light switch syndrome. And we can't be doing that. So how do you keep people with that light switch turned on? Like, how do you help your athletes combat that mindset of, I'm getting really busy and now I need to turn the light switch off and focus on other things for a while? Like, how do we combat that?
And, I'll start by saying that this is something I still struggle with today. As a business owner, I could have 5 emergencies pop up in the morning and realize it's going to be hard to fit in that training session I really wanted to if I didn't get it in first thing in the morning. But the real thing that I like to focus on with my athletes is dropping what you talked about, the all or nothing mentality. So many people have it, and I don't know where it came from. I think it's just our ego wanting to be perfect. This all or nothing, okay, I'm on a training program that has me, I'm supposed to work out 5 days per week, and then you do 3 or 4, and then you're like, well, this whole thing's screwed up. I'm not going to, might as well drop the whole thing. And this is the big one. The biggest one is diet. So you do good on your diet for 3 or 4 days. The weekend comes around, you screw it up, and then come Monday, instead of just saying, well, I'm gonna get back to the healthy diet, do what I can. People are just like, well, screw it. I already screwed up the diet. Just let's do whatever. Anything goes. And it's this all or nothing mentality. If I can't be perfect, I just won't do anything. Where in your life has that ever worked out? It does not work out. In your job, if you were ever late to work, are you just gonna be like, well, screw that job, quit that job, I'm not doing that anymore? If you ever messed up or disappointed one of your kids or your wife, would you be like, well, giving the kid up for adoption, hey babe, we're getting a divorce because I let you down? No, you work on it. It's a relationship. And so if you can only get in 15 minutes worth of fitness today, great, do that instead of doing the full 60 minutes. If you can only eat half the healthy meals that you needed to this week, do that. Now, you can always start at any point. If I have a horrible lunch, okay, oops. But when I can start getting better? Not the next day, the next meal. I can immediately be like, okay, I'm getting better right now with this meal, and I'm going to make this decision moving forward. So drop that all or nothing mentality, and you'll start to get a lot better.
Yeah, I always say the perfect time to start getting better is right now. That just right now. Let's make that switch. Let's make that switch happen. So you talked a little bit about the balance of your business. You're an entrepreneur, you're a spouse, you're a father, you're a friend. That's something that I struggle with, finding the balance. I've talked about before on the show, I've let my career put me in the hospital 3 different times from anxiety attacks or just passing out because I'm not sleeping enough and things like that. And I've balanced that out over the last few years. I've really corrected that. So how do you work to find that balance so you can keep all those areas kind of where you want them to be?
Yeah, I'm not very balanced. I mean, let's call it extreme balance. So what I've done is over the course of the last couple of years, and maybe it was intentional, unintentional, most likely, is I cut out everything in my life that was not necessary. So we're talking about TV. I mean, I haven't been to a bar in 10 years, like just anything, all that stuff I just cut out, where I could really extremely focus on what I wanted to be better at, which was, fitness, family, and my business were the three things I really wanted to focus on. Now, where I got into trouble doing this was I started to see, not consciously, but subconsciously, I started to see, and we talked about this kind of at the beginning of the show, my relationships as unnecessary distractions. I was like, I don't have time to talk to you on the phone. I don't have time to go to dinner with you because I was trying to pretend like I was being focused on growing the business and staying, fit and being a family man. But that was the main area I really got out of balance was, wow, like I'm not going to have any friends soon. My family's all going to hate me if I don't like start focusing on this area of my life. And it is an important area. So what I've really done is just eliminated basically everything else out of my life that I don't need to be doing and just really focus on the things that I think are important.
Yeah, I think that's a great base too. Is just making, and then within each relationship, like something that I do, I've been in some situation where I feel like I kind of neglect my friends. And even, as your client roster grows, you can't give everybody the same attention that you used to when you're first starting, and they start to feel that a little bit. But just kind of going through that checklist of, okay, what are the essential relationships that I have to absolutely nurture? My spouse, my children, my parents, my siblings, and then kind of work your way down from there. And one of the things that I've been doing and implementing over the last few years is I do a 5-day work week. I do one day off. My 2 days off, I do not do any business, anything, no email, no phone, nothing. One of the days is a Friday. That's my day. I focus on me. And almost nobody does that, especially if they're married and they have kids. They feel guilty about it. But then that Saturday is 100% family, and doing those two things every week, it recharges my battery and it allows me to be more efficient. I have to be more efficient with a 5-day work week. You have to get the essentials done. So you can't screw around and be like, well, I'm going to go watch TV for an hour. You got to get the things done. You got to get the podcast recorded. You got to get those things out there. But that's helped me a lot with balance. That's always a challenge I put out there to the audience is assign a couple free days to yourself and see how that works. Now,
yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I this was about 6 months ago. I kind of changed entrepreneurship into a game. It was like, okay, you have 5 days per week, 8 hours per day. I don't work long days anymore. I just challenge myself. If you want to get more done, you're just going to have to work smarter. And so once I kind of set those rules, like there's a game. And a lot of entrepreneurs aren't playing this game. Maybe it's just me and you. But a lot of them are working those 14, 16-hour days. And I've been there working 7 days per week. I've been there. But now, getting way more serious about taking care of my family. Yeah, I work 8 hours a day, 5 days per week. And I really don't let myself go outside those parameters.
Yeah, that's awesome. Especially, you've got 3 children. I've got 2 kids. And you don't get those early years back. And a lot of people kind of grind it out, and then all of a sudden your kid's grown up, and I know I've got a lot of clients that regret not being there a lot more when their kids were young. So I use that as motivation for sure. Income is great, but experience kind of trumps that for me and quality of life. So we'll keep battling this one out. We can help keep each other accountable. Maybe we're the only ones doing this. So Jerred, I've got a few rapid fire questions I wanted to be sure that I asked you, and you don't have to answer quickly, but I just wanted to make sure that I got these in. On your website, and you've mentioned here on the show some books. I know you're a big reader. What would be the 3 books that you would recommend to anybody that wants to be a better human or enhance their humanology? What are the 3 books? It doesn't have to be like your epic 3-book list, but just something that comes to the top of mind that it's going to help people improve their humanology.
Yeah, so I would focus on The One Thing by Gary Keller. Really phenomenal book. It translates to business and your life just as much. I mentioned Grit by Angela Duckworth, also another amazing one. If you really want to wrap your head around not only how to get your mindset in the right place, but also your children. I think it probably is one of the best parenting books I've read, even though there's only like a chapter or two on relating to kids. Now, the third book, if we want to get better, I'm going to have to go with Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would love to get Jocko on the show, and that's something that if anybody out there listening knows Jocko, let's hook up that interview. But yeah, I mean, I just like listening to his show and listening to him talk. People talk about they're like, we love your podcast voice. I'm like, listen to Jocko, man. Like, he makes everything sound epic. You know, he'd be like, I walked my dog, and you're like, damn, that was epic. You know, and
he just has such an amazing approach to discipline and everything else. Well, I mean, his basic approach is just do it, kind of almost like a Nike approach. But for some reason, it really resonates when he says it, you know. And so it's good that he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah, the whole discipline equals freedom thing is huge. And then the one thing that's my favorite all time book. I read it. I talk about it's the only book I've ever read front to back 3 times in a row. I just went through and through and through, and I was like, I couldn't get enough of it. So I'm glad we're thinking along the same lines there. Now, let's switch to a workout recommendation. Let's say that you could only do one workout with 3 exercises for the rest of your life. To get the most bang for your buck, what would those exercises be?
I think you let me know if this follows the rules. It would be the workout Murph, because there's pull-ups, there's push-ups, and there's squat. Now, there are runs at the beginning and end of it.
We can count that. We can count that.
Yeah, so it would be Murph. I actually so it's run 1 mile, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, run 1 mile. And last year, I challenged myself to do that workout every Saturday for a year. So I ended up doing it 52 times, a lot of different variations. And to make it a little bit harder, in the real workout, you wear a 20-pound weight vest. And so that workout, I think if that's the only workout I could do for the rest of my life, I'd be in great shape and be happy with it.
That's impressive, man. A year straight on Saturday. That's legit. And I love that focus level and getting outside your comfort zone. That's a great example of that. Okay, food. What is your perfect meal? If we're going to combine health and it tastes good to you, what's that going to look like?
Health and tastes good to me. I mean, I think it would probably, I mean, if this is like I could only eat it for the rest of my life, I don't know that would be my answer, but I really like shakes, just because I can fit all the macronutrients I want in there. And I typically do frozen blueberries, some like MCT oil, a little bit of a banana, and then some beef protein isolate is like my go-to, and chia seeds. Now, if we're talking about just like a whole food, which would probably be a little bit better, I don't know, maybe some version of an avocado, like healthy guacamole, or, you know, something like that would probably be my go-to.
Have you ever done the baked avocado with the egg inside of it?
No, I've seen the recipes for that, but I've never tried it.
my wife and I follow a ketogenic diet, and she makes them all the time, and legit, I never get to eat them. I've never tried it. She makes it almost every day, and she won't let me have it. And I'm too lazy to cook things like that. So, but it looks delicious. It smells delicious also. But
I might have to try that today. I got both the ingredients downstairs. So.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, try it out. Let me know how it goes. Last rapid fire question. What is something that you've recently learned from a podcast guest that you've implemented into your own regimen?
So I think a big one for me, I've had him on my podcast twice, once a while back and one more recently, would be Dr. Ben Bickman. And he studies a lot about ketosis, insulin, mainly insulin. He's almost, you could call him an insulin researcher, a very smart dude. But I really kind of transformed the way I talk to my athletes about their diets and how I approach my day to day. And so what that looks like is using your insulin in a good way. So what we most Americans do right now is they just constantly keep their insulin spiked throughout the day. Obviously, that's not a good thing, just because you're eating constantly, so your insulin never drops. And this is how we get diabetes and all these bad problems, right? And so he takes intermittent fasting to a whole new level. So having that eating window so your insulin can take a break and you don't have to be producing as much. But using your insulin and having like a high carb, like I know you're on a ketogenic diet, I'm on a lower carb, but I eat all of my carbs immediately post exercise. And the reason I do that is just because I work out. So I stop eating at 7 p.m. If I do eat anything in the morning, it's 100% fat, no carbohydrates allowed. And that's not every morning. Then I work out around 10 a.m. and then finish at around 11:30. If it's longer later in the day, then I'll eat my first meal. And what that does then spikes your insulin and allows your body to use all those nutrients to shovel them into your muscles and see better results. So really, his idea on carbohydrates, insulin, and ketogenic style diets, I've probably implemented the most in recent history.
I like it. And after we're done recording, I'm going to hit you up for an intro to him for sure. So
yeah, he's an amazingly smart dude. Yeah, you check him out.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Now, I want to make sure that we get people connected with you and your info. Specifically, I know that you are an expert in the garage gym athlete. Maybe explain that first. How does somebody become a garage gym athlete, and how can you help them?
I mean, you can become a garage gym athlete as simple as going to your garage and doing some push-ups. But if you wanted to join our mission, you could go to Garage Gym Athlete and check that out. We have anywhere from body weight only exercises to weight loss and performance. We focus a lot on performance. We have all that at garagegymathlete.com. And that's really just been my passion because I have been a garage gym athlete. As a fitness professional, I haven't been to the gym in about 15 years, but I have been in my garage gym that entire time. So yeah, I'm just really big on helping that community see results, stay accountable, stay motivated. That's a big part of what I do.
Yeah, I love it. And if I could turn my computer over, you'd see to my left here, I'm in my podcast bunker in my basement. And I've got a squat rack. I've got a couple Texas power bars. I got 300 pounds of weights and some rings, and I'm ready to rock, you know. And but
awesome.
I want my commute to be very short. Actually, in between interviews, I go and I do like ring dips and stuff like that and pull-ups, and it just makes it very easy. Real quick, like, what do you think if somebody does want to get some equipment for a garage gym? What are one or two places to start with there?
Like equipment providers?
No, just like equipment that they need. Like, what would you recommend somebody getting?
Yeah, so I would recommend a barbell and some plates to start. Pull-up bar would be great, and some rings. If you could get all those things, you would be set for several years, really, before you had to mix it up. And eventually, maybe invest in a squat rack or something like that to hold the barbell. But even if you can't, there's still so much you can do with that barbell before ever having to get a rack. So that's where I would start.
Awesome. I love it. Now, how can people connect to you, follow your story? Obviously, the End of 3 podcast. We're going to put all the links to that, but what's the best way to follow you and your story on social, all that?
Yeah, so I'm at EO3_fit on Instagram. Also, we have Garage Gym Athlete handle on Instagram. Probably more active there than anything else. Podcast-wise, if you guys are looking for another one to add to your feed on top of this awesome podcast, it would be the Betterhumanology podcast. And we also recently started the Garage Gym Athlete podcast, where we only interview our own athletes. And it's been really fun and super motivating for everyone listening.
That is awesome. I'll link that up in the blog and in the show notes. And Jerred, I want to be respectful of your time, but I do have one last question for you. And I want you to just kind of imagine that our audience, you know, obviously there's some people that we are going to inspire with this. And let's say somebody is ready to take on a new personal challenge. They've heard what we've had to say, and they're like, okay, I need to get out of my comfort zone. I need to kind of dip my toe in the water and challenge myself a little bit. What advice would you give that person? Like, if they're kind of nervous, they aren't sure where to start, what would you tell that person?
So they're just looking to get better. They want to dip their toe into the water. I would say pick one thing. Gary Keller, right? Let's pick one thing that challenges you like on a small level that you can do every single day. And I don't care how small it is, but I'd like for you to commit to it for a year. And I don't care. I don't care how small it is. Like, if you're like, okay, I'm going to read one page of a book every day for 365 days. How unbelievably challenging it is to do something every day for a year is ridiculous. So make it small, but commit to something that you can do for 365 days and challenge yourself to do that. At the end of that year is where things get exponential, geometric, as opposed to linear, because now you have discipline and you are able, you know you can make yourself do things. So fitness routines get easier. Reading a whole book per week gets a lot easier. Everything will get easier, but first you have to prove yourself that you can do something no matter how small it is.
That's awesome advice, everybody. I hope you tuned into that, because that is a momentum builder, and that's what it's all about. Now, Jerred, I want to take a second to thank you. I love your energy. I love your message. I think that you're somebody that is out there leading by example, and you are just. I can tell you're passionate about what you do, and the passion is driving your success, and it's catapulting you with the podcast, with your Garage Gym athletes, and I know your clients are feeling all the momentum that you're helping them achieve as well in their own lives. So thank you. I know you're super busy. Obviously, you've got a new child, so I appreciate you carving out some time in your day for us and being a part of the Million Pound Mission, adding some mojo to what we have going on here.
I really appreciate it, man. Love your mission and passion as well. And I'm looking forward to you hitting that 1,000,000 pound mark.
Yes, we're going to do it. All right, everybody. Now, as always, I want you to think about at least one action point that you can lock into and start building some momentum with, whether it's the 1-year challenge that Jerred put out there, or maybe it's reading one of the books they recommended. But what's the one thing you're going to do and take action towards in the next 24 hours so that you can get out there and own it every meal, every workout, every day? I'll see you on the next episode. Hold on just 1 second there. Good looking. I promised you before the show started that I had some more info about the 1,000,000 Pound Mission Bootcamp, and I am here to deliver that to you. You don't want to miss out. Basically, here's what happened. I have 2 amazing programs I've been running for quite a while now locally with my local clients. The Meltdown Bootcamp, it's my just classic bootcamp format, and then a newer product that I call Push 56. And I thought, you know what? I think it'd be really cool to be able to deliver this to anybody, anywhere. So I combined the 2 products. I reformulated them to put them in an online format, and I'm bringing it to you guys starting in July. It looks like we're going to try to do 1 8-week boot camp per quarter. So the July boot camp will be our kickoff. You can get all the dates, all the info. You can get on the wait list to get first dibs on the roster spots, because I only have a certain amount of coaches, so we cannot take an unlimited amount of people. So go to millionpoundmission.com, millionpoundmission.com, and get all of the details. You're going to love it. It includes workouts, online workouts, also workouts and prescriptions you can do at your gym, at home, body weight, strength training, whatever. It's all in there. Then it also combines a meal plan. You're going to get to select from our clean eating plan, our paleo plan, our keto plan, or intermittent fasting plan, whatever fits your goals, whatever seems like the best fit for you. That's the program we're going to deliver there. And we have accountability built in. You're going to have an option where you can upgrade and get an accountability coach that touches base with you every single day. We've also got group accountability with a private Facebook group and the Push 56 format. You're going to love. I'm going to have a weekly assignment for you to dig in with that brain food, with that strategic thinking, so we quit messing up with those same danger zones that always trip us up. This is going to be a powerful program. Like I said, roster spots will be limited. Go to millionpoundmission.com. Get on the wait list. It doesn't cost anything to get on the wait list. There's no commitment, but you will get first dibs. You'll have a week prior notice when registration opens up for the 1,000,000 Pound Mission Bootcamp. Check it out.